All right, so we're good. All right. Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the Pioneer Valley Regional School District School Committee. Today is Thursday, September 15th, 2022. This meeting is being held via Google Meet in accordance with the Governor of Massachusetts, March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20. In addition, a link to view the school committee meeting will be on the website at www.pvrsdk12.org, or you can view it at www.facebook/BNC television. The public is welcome to attend in person or to watch via the links above, but in the event of an issue with the links, the public meeting in person shall continue to proceed. As always, if you would like to speak virtually via Google Meet during citizens' comments, please email citizenscomments@pvrsdk12.org. I will call the meeting to order. It is 7:05 p.m. And we will take a roll call attendance. You want to lead us off, David?
David Young, present. Nathan Swartz, present.
Liz. Liz. I was waiting for the microphone. They were on.
Oh.
Melissa Gary, present.
Jeannie Milton, present.
Karen O'Neill, present.
Alan Genovese, present.
Stephen Martin, present.
And Michelle?
Michelle Geruso, present.
And Stephanie?
Stephanie Winslow, present.
Great. And Raina Dastu, present. Great. And now we have citizens' comments. We have and please state your name and your town of residence.
Kathy Malsh, I'm a Northfield resident. I have been a teacher here in the district. This is my 10th year. I've had 3 children go through this district, K through 12.
My name is Nolan Kitfield. I'm a Northfield resident. This is my 20th year teaching in this district, and I have 2 children that have attended district schools.
Good evening, I'm Jen Comiskey. I'm a Northfield resident. This is my 17th year at PVRSD, and I also have 2 children who have attended.
And I'm sorry, I'm representing Northfield Elementary.
I'm representing Bernardston Elementary School.
And I'm here at Pioneer. Good evening. The Pioneer Valley Regional Education Association began preparations for negotiations in October 2021 and began meetings with the PVRSD subcommittee in January 2022. Despite these meetings, your teachers are presently working without a contract. This district is one of the lowest paying districts in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. We want an agreement, we deserve an agreement, and we feel that the district has not done its due diligence in preparing for meetings, hearing our needs, and being fair in allocating district funds. Administrative salaries have risen significantly, including interim administrative positions. Some administration positions have been increased to be, quote, competitive with other districts for employees who have only been in this district a year or 2. Even with increased salaries, the turnover rate is high. In the past 20 years, we have had 5 superintendents, and PVRS has had 9 principals. Please look in this audience and see your veteran teachers who have persevered through the budget catastrophe of 2016-2017 that included massive layoffs. And just recently, through COVID, where we spent countless hours, nights, weekends, and summers to convert our curriculums to meet the needs of the remote and hybrid learning environment. Through all of this, we have never had a substantial pay increase. Your veteran teachers who are at the top pay scale are only receiving the percent increases of 1, 1.5, and only 2% for the past 2 years, which is the highest increase we've received in the past 20 years. This, as you know, does not even come close to covering the cost of living increases. not to mention the years we received 0%, 0.5%, and 1%. Our teacher turnover is also at its all-time high, with approximately 90 teachers in the past 5 years leaving the district. We are stretched too thin and are being asked to do more and more without appropriate compensation. What the district needs to understand is that our working conditions are your students' learning conditions. I'll say that again. Our working conditions are your students' learning conditions. We urge you to invest in the students and teachers that you are fortunate to have. We believe all PVRSD stakeholders share the same goal to move from a culture of instability, scarcity, and uncertainty to one of positivity and growth in our schools. The PVRSD School Committee has demonstrated its ability to negotiate non-union contracts in a respectful and equitable manner. PVREA teachers work hard to provide an excellent education to the district's children every day. We deserve a fair and equitable employment contract and a respectful resolution to contract negotiations soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other comments? All right, seeing none, thank you. We have no minutes to review. Chair report, other reports. The chair report, I don't have anything new to report from last week. Does the superintendent?
I will pass on my report for the night.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So on to our business. Have a request for approval of a student organization, the Pioneer Land Stewardship Club. And state your name, please. No challenge. Or
my name is Cooper Bullock, and I am a senior here at Pioneer Valley Regional School.
great. Thank you. And you have a presentation for us?
Yes, I do.
Great. Go ahead.
So here's the Pioneer Valley Regional Land Stewardship Project that I am working on. So the reason that I am working on this project is I participated in a scholarship program through the United States Department of State, Georgetown University, and World Learning this past summer. This is a 2-week program where I visited Costa Rica, and I traveled with other students from across the country to be immersed in the language and culture. And upon completion, I was tasked with completing a community service project, which I am doing here at Pioneer Valley Regional School. The goal of the project to fully utilize the PVRS land and deepen the connection between the environment and community at large. Task number 1. So this is creating Pioneer Land Stewardship Club and beginning recruitment for this club. So the status right now, awaiting approval from the school committee. So once that is approved, hopefully, I will start the next steps, which include creating recruitment flyers to find interested students and other interested parties, such as other stakeholders in the community, residents of the district towns included. Then, with my proposed club advisor, Ms. Pullen, schedule our first club meeting to discuss our task 2, which you will see in a second, which is you'll see soon. And then we will continue to meet in advance of task 2, which will happen in October, and future events as well. So just before I start talking about the specifics of the project, here is the land that I will be working on with the club. So you can see exposed tree roots out on the trails here at Pioneer Valley Regional School. So these roots pose danger to runners who are in cross country and runners who are just here from the community that use these trails. The roots also have potential to be infected. And then there is also a chance for erosion, more erosion happening too. So task number 2, plan the October event to work on trails. So specific dates are to be identified, waiting for a club meeting. So that will happen in the next few weeks. Main goal for this event, to bring the community together and show them the more than 90 acres of land, which is the most in the state for a public school that PVRS sits on. In addition, the goals for the day and event are as follows. Protect the health of our trails and the safety of trail users. Using this pioneering stewardship plan by John Lepore, who used to work here as a science teacher, we, with Ms. Kinsella and him and other district administration, we did a walk out there in late August, and started talking about how we could start to reimagine and get students out onto the land. So on the priority area of trail, which you will see on a map on the next slide, we will install 4 to 6 inches of wood chips in a 36 to 48 inch swath to cover exposed tree roots. Like I said before, this will prevent further erosion along the trail, increase the ability of the trees to resist introduction of infection, and increase safety for runners and walkers. This is a very big project, requiring approximately 700 cubic yards of mulch, which we are collaborating with town DPWs to obtain this mulch. And if we do not get it all from them, we will reach out to other tree companies and other sources as well. So as you can see, the yellow on the map indicates the 0.63 mile trail that we'll be working on. So this is called the northern highlighted portion, which will be the task 2 of putting the mulch on this section. There's another highlighted portion. Pictures are going to be on the next slide, but this is on adjacent property. It's on a property line, so further surveying will be needed to determine who the property belongs to. But there's a collapsed bridge with rotten wood exposed, so that's a major safety concern. And then all other areas on the land out there just need some routine trail maintenance with pruning, which will happen at the same time or in the spring as well. So here's area 2 where the collapsed bridge is. So this will need further surveying, like I said before, to determine if it's on the PVRS land. Now I will open it up for questions, comments, and concerns from anyone.
Melissa?
Awesome job.
Thank you.
So to share with the community and also with the school committee, Buildings and Grounds invited Cooper to speak on Monday. So he has given this presentation to those of us who were in attendance. And we had gone over many questions and comments and had a really lively discussion. And so it's with that we thought it would be appropriate to come and present to you guys tonight and support this. So Cooper, could you just explain a little to all of us how you got involved? Where did this program come from? Why did you choose it?
So last October, I was looking for a way to further myself and get out further past Massachusetts. So I looked into some exchange programs that I could do in the summer, and I found this one. So I applied, and then I was interviewed for the first time, and I had to speak some Spanish in that interview. And then I got interviewed again, and that one went really well too. And then I was selected as an alternate in March. And then in April, I was told that I was going to be going to Costa Rica because someone had dropped out, which was very exciting, for me at least. So I got to go to Costa Rica a week after school ended in June.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Steve.
Thanks very much, Cooper. Just want to thank you also. Having had kids run up there for cross country, my own kids, and also benefit from time with Ms. Pullen in the field. I thought that we had 70 plus acres, but to hear that we have 90 plus acres is really a gift.
Yes.
And I'm just grateful to you and to the teaching corps that has made land stewardship such an important part of your time here.
Yeah.
I have a question. Are there maps of those trails
Yeah, I can.
that exist?
I have them printed out. I can pass them around.
Yeah. Maybe we can think about disseminating that to the community as well. Once, it would be wonderful to have the community be able to take advantage of the work that you're doing. Melissa?
Cooper, could you share with the committee and those who are here listening, what is your vision for the day of work? For who is going to be involved? Who would you like to invite?
So the October day that we're planning, so we're gonna try and get the community involved as much as possible. So having people from across the district being here and getting to work on the land and using machinery to get out on the land. So we're gonna work with some organizations to try and find some of that equipment and work with just community members who have that kind of equipment. And then for a grand reveal, hopefully by the end of October, we will do a lantern walk with the district elementary schools. So we'll walk on the trail out there. And this is still in discussion and planning, but we're hoping to have a trunk or treat for the elementary school kids before the lantern walk, just to get the community involved.
So part of our discussion from Monday night was really extending this project and including not just the students, but staff and community members. We talked about different ways of getting the wood chips there by using side-by-sides with the dump beds. And so we really had this nice planning session with a lot of excitement and really wanting to make this a huge community event for the work. Lots of work, but
Yes.
many hands,
Yes.
light work.
Mm-hmm. Alan? Go ahead.
This is a wonderful initiative. I'm wondering about the name, because when I first saw this, I thought it was you were envisioning all of the land and maybe repurposing, redesigning, and having multiple uses for it. This is a wonderful presentation. It's focused, this aspect of it, and maybe you're doing this in phases, but this phase seems to be obviously dedicated to the trails because they get a lot of exciting uses.
Yes.
Are you envisioning other initiatives for this land stewardship? And if so, it's probably the right title. If not, then it should be something like maybe Pioneer Trails Stewardship Club.
So
Thoughts?
I'm a senior this year, so I only have this year to really work on it as a student. But I'm hoping to continue to have this club. Hopefully it will continue running past my time here. And it definitely will be in phases. So right now it's working on the trails, but eventually I'm hoping that it will be total land stewardship.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Michelle?
Cooper, thank you for your initiative. I just wanted to add that I think this is going to be a wonderful project for years to come, and the community at large will be able to enjoy this. And I hope that the school committee can wrap their arms around this evening, but also commit to future visions of what these trails can do for all the students and the community at large. So thank you again.
Thank you.
David?
I move that we recognize the Pioneer Land Stewardship Club as a student organization.
I second that.
Do I need to do that again?
Yeah, I think you probably do.
Thank you. I move that we recognize the Pioneer Land Stewardship Club as a student organization.
I second that. And I would also like to say thank you. And it is reassuring to see that the mission
of PVRS, which includes the word sustainability in it, is being carried forward. This mission was originally created in the late 1990s when I was on the faculty here, and sustainability wasn't a word being used by many people. In that way, Pioneer was at the forefront, and I can see with work by you, other students, and faculty members who support you, we will be able to continue that. Thank you.
Thank you.
A logistical question. So this, on how clubs get formed, obviously, I'm certainly going to support this. Does this then, you negotiate, having this language, introducing this new club with a stipend and what that might be? So maybe shedding a little light on that so that we know that aspect of it, because with a club comes commitment and some kind of a stipend.
Happy to answer that. The first step is for the school committee to approve the creation of the club. After that, the committee would need to negotiate with the PVREA for a stipended position. There is currently a stipend for the Envirothon. The Envirothon has not been happening for several years. So we would need to negotiate the amount of the stipend for this club. There are several clubs that are not functioning. We have money that could be moved over for this position.
Thank you. I just wanted that publicly to be explained.
All right. Any other comments, questions?
May I
discussion?
do a quick one? What a pleasure working with Cooper Bullock. Testament to his family, testament to his educators, not just his teachers here at PVRS, but his elementary educators as well. Cooper and I had some grand designs about all the the entire trail network, and that walk with John Lepore in August was sobering because there are trails on the property that should be rerouted. They are causing too much erosion, particularly in the southwest corner of the property. There are a couple of places where they're not safe. There are invasives that need to be managed. So we had to scale our ambitions back, and I'm really proud of Cooper for settling on something that is doable and exciting and will be a success, and therefore he is a leader who is helping position his student colleagues in a terrific place to take their next steps when he's not here, and continue being good stewards of this land. So well done, Cooper.
Thank you.
You're here. I know I spoke with Patricia the day that they did the tour, and she was full of excitement, and I was envious that I wish I had had the opportunity to go on that tour. It sounded like there was fabulous information, and I really commend the work that you're doing.
One last brag. So even though this is Cooper's senior year, once we take the vote, and if we end up adopting this, the Pioneer Land Stewardship Club, up on the screen right now, he designed that logo. And so that will be permanent, right? And so you will stay as, I would say, the founder, right, of this new. So I thought that was a beautiful logo that I wanted to share.
Very nice. All right, are we ready to take a vote? Okay. You want to lead us off, David?
David Young, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Melissa Gary, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Stephen Martin, yes.
Michelle?
Michelle Geruso, yes.
Stephanie?
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. So that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Perfect. All right. Now on to our next order of business, which is much less exciting, but request for disposal of BES stage curtains. Discussion and vote.
Well, this is a sad request. The stage curtains at Bernardston Elementary School were victims of the mold that grew last year. And despite having been cleaned twice by the professional crew that came in, they continued to have mold on them. They were put in storage into the container that is outside the building. They do not appear to be, what's the word?
Salvageable.
Oh, wow. Salvageable. So I am requesting permission to dispose of these curtains.
You go ahead, David.
I move that we declare the stage curtains surplus. I move that we declare the stage curtains at Bernardston Elementary surplus to the needs of the district, and that we try and recycle them because most fibers are recyclable.
Second.
Any further discussion? Yes.
I would like to either amend or possibly, I'm looking for guidance from others. This also was brought up at our Buildings and Grounds meeting on Monday, and there is a possibility of other storage items that could have mold on them that are not salvageable. So we are unsure whether there's upholstered furniture in there or if there's other items that are not salvageable. I'm wondering if we are able as a committee to make a generalized statement that any unsalvageable property in that, no, it has to be specific?
We've got to be able to describe it.
Because,
Otherwise,
okay.
It's an open check, and all I have to do is say, oh, that's.
Because all of the mildewy and moldy items are contained in a storage unit right now, in which Gretchen has to go in full bodysuit to figure it out. So if that's not if we have to do each item,
We'd have to inventory it and declare it.
Okay.
Just make a list.
Et cetera.
Sure.
I do want to point out to
No
the
problem.
school committee on my way out that we've got a mold situation in the old superintendent's office buildings out back there.
We do.
We should come back on our radar screen at some point. It's
Building and Grounds here.
been investigated getting, trying to give them away, sell them. At this point, it's toxic conditions and there are 3 portable classrooms that were the superintendent's office. So it ought to be on our long-term plan to deal with that. Building.
Are you in the middle of voting right now? Should I hold a comment?
We're in the middle of discussion
Yeah.
portion of the vote.
On
So I
that
think
motion.
Did I get a second?
It's only on
you
the
did.
motion.
Yeah,
It's
Alan
on this
seconded.
motion.
It's on this
So it's okay to
motion.
make a comment here?
Yes.
Jordan Burns and I have started working on gathering information and guidance to develop a bid for the committee's review for that facilities master planning process. Review of the modulars would certainly be part of any facilities assessment in the district. So that would be on the docket. And secondly, it turns out that I taught the 2 children of the person who runs the state's textile recycling program. I will give her a call.
Small world. All right. Any further discussion on the mold? On the
mold.
the moldy curtains. I do have a question. Is there a plan in place to replace the curtains?
Excellent question. There is not, because until we have collaborated, I'm looking at our colleague Brian Keir, until we have collaborated with the town on the facilities assessment and figured out air handling on the stage and in the gym at Bernardston, it would make no sense to put any new textiles in that area. These curtains, I would imagine, are quite expensive. This isn't a simple toss.
Fireproof.
Yep, and I don't see what, they're not clean, salvageable.
Yep.
So to be determined. That's good. All right. Any further discussion? All right. You want to lead us off, David? We're ready for a vote.
David Young, yes.
Nathan Swartz, yes.
Melissa Gary, yes.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Alan Genovese, yes.
Stephen Martin, yes.
Okay. Melissa? Oh, sorry, Michelle.
Michelle DeRusso, yes.
And Stephanie?
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. So that passes unanimously. And on to our next order is the first reading of our policy manual and discussion.
Well, here we are again. In July, you actually had access to the policy manual revision for the first time. And we began to go through that. And at this point, there have been additional revisions made. But before I get into explaining that, I'd like to again thank the other members of the policy subcommittee, Alan, Stephanie, and Jeannie. Thank you very much. And Raina, yes, I was about to state, and former members as well, including Raina, Abby Pratt, who's no longer with us. So it's been a long thing. Yes, sir.
I would like to pile on and compliment your committee. In all the time I've been on the school committee, 8 years, and 15 years I've been town coordinator, these policies have been a mess, and they've annoyed me. And I know how much work it is, and I wasn't the guy for this kind of detail. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It was very much needed, as you said. And we could not have done this without the encouragement and expertise of Tracy Novick from MASC, and the support of the school committee in backing some money to allow us to use her expertise and her skills. Since our previous discussion of the revised manual back in July, the policy subcommittee has met 3 more times to continue our work. We also followed that up with correspondence and phone calls with Tracy, and she attended some of our meetings. We did this on behalf of all of us. On Tuesday, you received a 2-page list of decisions and changes since that July meeting, including policies which are in need of future consideration after we adopt this new manual. We will continue to work on a second list of former policies or present policies that included actual procedures instead of policy, and whose consideration must be given after we adopt this. So we're going to work on a second list to present, and will be forwarded to people who are actually the stakeholders who are responsible for implementing the procedures, and alert them to the removal of the policy from the manual during the process, so that they know it's been passed back to them, or part of it has been passed back to them. That's another big job, and will probably take another month or so to complete. But tonight is another opportunity for us to hear from you before a vote on acceptance of this revision, which will occur in October. Each of you should feel free to enter the conversation with members of the subcommittee, Alan, Jeannie, Joseph, and I, at this time. Not Joseph. Stephen. Excuse me very much. So, if it is your desire, we could go through and we can present the sections of the policy by their alphabetical order. We can talk about those policies that we've changed since our last discussion, or something else that you would like to bring up. I'd just like to remind you that we are near the finish line, and we are not going to do much more, if any more, true revision before a vote.
Karen, can I make a comment
Yes.
on that? Because you used some words last time that stayed with me. And you were talking about, a policy manual coming forward, and it's not perfect.
Right.
And I think that we need to keep in mind that
Absolutely.
after all these years, we have revisions and additions and deletions that has this policy manual at least 90% better than it was before. It will continue to need more work, and there are particular policies that will require attention because laws are changing, regulations are changing, and you know the practical implications or implementation of it. We'll be looking forward to hearing from the administration as they're going through policies and trying to implement, you know, what issues that they have that they can bring to our attention, and we can refine this. So understanding that it's not perfect, but it is so much better than what we have presently. I'm looking forward to, you know, a positive vote, and then we work off that document for the foreseeable future.
Correct. It's a work in progress.
Jeannie?
It'll always be a work in progress because things are continuously changing. State laws come into effect that are changing. So policy manuals are habitually a work in progress.
Right, and we will not be continuing on this path alone. We have contracted with MASC to help us with legal updates and any updates that we should like to do as a committee ourselves. So there is a list of some 20 or 25 items here. If you have questions about any particular sections within the alphabetized section that we're working on at a particular moment, please ask. The mission statement and anything else with an asterisk on this list is something that we have to look into, give additional time to. Sometimes as a school committee and sometimes as a wider school community. So I will leave you with that. I think you knew that. As far as I know, the Wellness Committee is still at work on their revision of what was a very long policy initially, something like 7 or 8 pages. So we'll wait for them to finish their work. It'll come to the policy subcommittee, and then we will bring it to you.
And that will occur after the October.
Right.
Yes,
right.
I just want to be clear.
Right.
Okay.
Unless somehow they have finished it between now and then. Okay. So are there any other questions about portion or section A of the manual? Okay. Then going on to B, we did some minor changes such as updating the titles of administrators and correcting some typos. But we also would like to remind the school committee that the district agreement will need to be updated on this policy BBBE, which I can't read from here, but it does reference the district agreement, and so we'll need to go back to that one. You will recall that we wrote our own use of private vehicles policy, and we spent several different school committee meetings working that out, and we adopted that, and that has replaced what was in there previously. And that's why it is a new policy and will be a part of this manual. EFC and EFD. These we had thought about changing because of the current situation with all school lunches being free lunches, but Tracy said it's inadvisable. She said this at our meeting this week, to do that because she feels this is a temporary provision, won't be there forever, and we should still make clear how we would treat students with free and reduced lunch status. which is basically no different from anyone else except for what they pay. Jeannie did bring up a point that we might want to think about, but probably not for the policy manual because it too may be temporary. And that is, she let us know that she was aware that students who brought their own lunches from home were being charged for milk when nobody else was being charged for milk. So we may want to think about that. Do you have any questions about B? Or you can see that we skipped over C. We had no changes there. Or E at this point. Okay. Domestic abuse leave policy. We talked with Tracy about this. There is a law in the state of Massachusetts that requires employers to provide for domestic abuse leave policy. It's fairly spelled out under what circumstances that may be taken and for what reasons, and after having exhausted all other types of leave that one is available to have. And our only question was about the whether that leave should be paid or unpaid, and the policy says that that is up to the employer. So Raina has reached out to Kim from the Dupre law firm, who is involved in negotiations with us, and she has said that we can handle that on a case-by-case basis. But it is the purview of the school committee.
It would be at the discretion.
Because we are the employer.
Yes.
Could you please explain why case by case and why we wouldn't make a uniform decision?
We can. What we need to, it's at the discretion of the school committee. And so
that could be part of the discussion.
We can have a discussion about whether we want to decide that on a case-by-case basis, or if it's going to be we're going to have one policy. So, but we don't.
And it doesn't say in the policy that it's case by case. It just says at the discretion of the employer. So we would have the option of saying we'll always make it this way or always make it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Yes.
Sorry. If it were to be a case-by-case basis, would it go to the school committee?
Yes.
So a person who is seeking domestic violence leave would need to ask the school committee?
It can come to us through the administration. It wouldn't have to be. We wouldn't have
confidentiality.
That's right.
Right.
That's why I'm
viewing
this
the
is confusing
particulars
to me.
of this.
Yeah.
It would have to be an executive session, I would assume. But
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that whole thing is problematic.
Yeah.
And so the attorney is leaving it open right now, and I think we'll get, I don't want to say better guidance, but I think we'll get more light shed on how to proceed with this.
And I think the question, the ultimate question was, is it up to administration or is it the school committee? And it's the purview of the school committee to decide whether that's paid or unpaid
Right,
leave.
and so that will require some different levels of circumstances that it rises to what you will be defining, which will be in regulations and laws and so forth. So keeping this open and looking at this when we have more information, we could then have a policy. I think in the end, it's going to end up with the administration after we establish some parameters. Because I
agree,
just don't see that level of invasion of privacy being
That's correct.
presented even in executive session at a school committee meeting.
Right. No,
Right.
you're absolutely right.
Yep.
Doesn't the superintendent now make the decisions on leaves anyway? Why would this one be any different?
The superintendent gives the school committee a recommendation, and then we approve the leave. So it would be a similar
Oh, that is
process.
true. We did that for a PVASP request for a year's leave of absence.
Right, right.
But that's
That is
different.
substantially different.
That's
I-
very
I'm
different.
I'm just recalling
It would
there
be
is
a
some
similar-
Well,
language
that's
in
not
one
even in
contract.
this category. This would be, let's see, what would be a category? Like,
The-
if you have
the-
sick leave and someone's run out, it comes to the committee to put more thing into the, more time into the sick bank, things like that. But this is
Well,
not that.
it's the statute's pretty clear
Right.
about what the parameters are in
Right.
terms of what qualifies as
A lot of
as an
detail.
event that
Right.
meets this criteria, and it's up to 15 days, and the statute's very prescriptive in that way. Yes, Melissa.
And I think what we're talking about is you're just identifying additional work that the policy subcommittee has to do. So
Yes.
all of this discussion will actually go back to the policy subcommittee.
Well-
It'll be decided there and then brought to the full committee for any adoption of policy.
Some of it will not come back to the policy
This
sub.
one, but this one particularly
Well,
sounds like.
Don't know yet, sorry.
Jeannie.
Okay.
I perceive domestic abuse as being extremely variable
Yes.
as to, it can, yes, it's totally variable. And I think that it will be on a case-by-case basis. And then it would come to the school committee in a very confidential format, without any names.
Without name.
No names. I
Right.
mean, that has to be protected. Names have to be protected. And I do believe that decisions can be made based on facts without names by the school committee.
Right.
Steve. Yeah.
I'd say coming from a line of work where confidentiality is paramount, one of the terms used is de-identified, because even if names are not used, there are other defining parameters. So it would have to be de-identified, sort of it relates the idea that there's no way to know who the person is. And so,
Right.
appreciate that, Jean.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
I'm a stickler about confidentiality.
Yep. I think we're going to need more guidance, more legal references, and
Yep.
and more feedback from MASS, MASC, on how to handle this. So
For sure.
I see this as sort of a pass. We have something,
Yep, we have a
but
policy.
it is going to
and-
require.
And we will,
We'll be following
revisit.
there'll be
along.
a process for informing
Right.
all of the employees of this policy, and we have more work to do. Absolutely.
Okay. Are there any other questions about, excuse me, policies in the G section? No other changes were made. Okay. I just put in that section H was completely missing originally from some of the printed versions that went out to some people, but it is online. And IJL had two versions present with two different titles. One was School Library Media Center and Book Selections, and the other was talked about library material selections. We kept the first, and the second was, we, after discussion, decided that the different parts of that were already in policy KEC, which is about public complaints. Okay, I'll go on to IE, because it specifically mentions that our elementary schools are pre-K through 6, and our middle schools 7 and 8, and our high school 9 through 12. If we revisit grade configurations as we had looked at a year or two ago, we'll have to come back to this one. Yes.
We are not a middle school school. Our
I know
district
that.
agreement says junior high school, and I think our policy should say that until that's changed. The other elephant in the room that the committee needs to address has to do with elementary schools. The district agreement says that the respective towns are fully responsible for the capital and capital improvements. Now we've closed 2 schools, and those 2 remaining hosts are obviously thinking there should be some contribution. I've been over here pounding the table saying we better not be using ESSER money on what is a town's responsibility. It's very logical to want to proceed as we do at the high school and junior high school, but it is not our district agreement. We need to follow our district agreement.
Okay, so I will alert Tracy that we should probably change middle school to junior high school.
No.
If
It's just the opposite, isn't it?
Change
It says middle
to
school.
Junior.
Change it to junior
Junior
high when
high.
it says middle school.
Is that now, who else is on the district agreement subcommittee? Have you looked at the issue of what we're going to call it in the new version of the district agreement? Is it going to be junior high or middle school?
I don't remember that detail.
You don't.
But it also doesn't say middle school in the policy. It says middle level consists.
That's different.
But that's different than what you said.
Oh,
So our policy
I
does not
took-
say middle school.
I
So-
took middle and high schools to mean middle school and high school.
So what you said, correct. So what you said isn't what the policy says.
Oh,
The policy says the middle level, which is fine, and we don't need to make a change.
Where does it say?
where does it say level? I don't see it.
1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph. See the pre that's red?
Middle and?
No.
It says middle and high school.
Yep. And then the next one, it defines. So the next paragraph, the primary elementary level includes the schools with pre-kindergarten through grade 6. The middle level consists of schools for grades 7 and 8. That says middle level. That doesn't say middle school.
Middle
Okay.
needs to be changed to
So
school,
no, the suggestion is to
junior high.
keep that.
Keep it.
Middle level, I think, is fine. There is no middle level schools. Right?
That's
There's middle
weasel
school and
word.
junior
Yeah,
high.
I don't, yeah.
Those
So-
are weasel words.
Yeah, I
Like,
I disagree. I think it's a middle, you're trying to get to a middle school philosophy.
We are.
And I think
It's a goal.
the efforts for professional development and curriculum, and particularly when Everett Masters was here, and all of the work that was being done, it was around the vision of a middle school.
Yeah, middle.
So there's no such thing as a middle level unless
Right,
middle. If the middle level would be 7 and 8, which is, you're trying to differentiate between a junior high school and a middle school, 2 very distinct animals.
Curricular based. Right?
Right.
It's curricular based.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
not.
So I think a middle school defines better what you've been trying to do, and it would have
Yeah.
to be addressed in the, the regional agreement. I didn't know, David, if there was a question to your statement in terms of, I'm assuming we haven't been using ESSER funds for the elementary school. Was this just a cautionary comment or a?
I was driving at last week's meeting when someone very carefully talked about maintenance and didn't say capital. So I didn't blow up. But I've had that concern. And it came originally when the new bathroom at Northfield Elementary was brought before the school committee. And there wasn't an understanding on this committee of the district agreement and how it treats the towns and the schools and those buildings. So, I mean, it's very logical, the way we're operating now, to take the model we use at the junior and senior high, which is shared by all 4 towns for capital expense, and apply it to the 2 remaining elementaries. That's not the district agreement. I can't do it.
Right. We also learned that there were like contracts or understanding, written agreements between the town and some information surfaced that how they were going about defining what was capital and what was, maintenance. And that will have to be cleaned up as well.
That's a hard job because the law itself uses a circular reference. It uses the word to define the word.
Right.
Capital items are those items having the nature of capital.
Good. Glad to have you here, David. So maybe we should leave it the way it is for now. What do you think? Yes.
Sorry, thank you very much. But it seems as though two things are happening in this policy. One is the definition of levels, and one is a reference to schools. And one paragraph speaks to levels, and the other paragraph, only high school is delineated, and the other two don't have school next to their name. So it just seems that we need to, in this policy, standardize what our references are to, of whether we're speaking about physical structures or ideas or levels. Sorry.
No, that's
okay.
spot
I
on.
think we have to be consistent with our language. And if that means defining at the beginning of the policy, elementary school refers to grade whatever to whatever, middle school refers to grade 7 and 8, high school refers to grades 9 through 12. We take that for granted, but it probably should be stated.
So would you like us to,
Put it in the beginning.
I want us to stop saying middle school until we're either talking about becoming one or have become one, and we stop saying junior high. But we are a junior high. We have a junior high. We operate a junior high. Our district agreement says it's a junior high.
but I think we've been trying to be a middle school for a long time, and that's a philosophical change from a junior high.
We've been trying, but we aren't there yet. We were denied the ability to change to a middle school by DESE. We got a yard-long letter. We have not answered that letter. We have not answered the objections that were brought at a hearing. We are not a middle school, and we should stop saying middle school. Why don't we call the high school a college? Might as well.
So the simple solution is we have three documents that are being worked on that are all going to converge together. And when that happens, you can have a consistent language. And it's probably the regional agreement, if it's going to be approved by the towns, can have, if it has the language middle school, then everything else would flow from that.
Can I suggest a quick fix for now? And that is to call these elementary and secondary schools, and to say that the composition for elementary schools is pre-K through 6, and secondary school, which is a building, 7 through 12.
I think that complicates it.
Yeah, the only issue I would
Secondary
have
is
with
like-
that is elementary education
Yeah, you're
is
gonna-
really still consisting pre-K to 8, and secondary is 9 through 12 from the state level. So when you leave elementary, when you leave, you're going from elementary into secondary education. I thought your suggestion was going to be, let's just leave it the way it is, and then we'll clean it
That's
all
my
up.
second choice.
I think right now we have to wait until the district agreement has been fixed and voted on in order for a lot of our terminology.
Okay.
I think we should be voting policies that apply to the here and now, not what we aspire to. They need to be workable tomorrow.
Well, I think to get back to our original discussion, none of these are going to be perfect. The language is not going to be perfect. It is going to be a work in progress, and I don't know that we're going to settle this discussion tonight. I think it's a difficult thing, and it's a complicated issue, and I think we're kind of getting lost in the minutia of this one particular policy, which we could do with every policy. But we need a new manual. We need an updated manual.
We do, and all we need to do is say junior high every time it says middle school. And we don't need to slip in, this is kind of a political argument of trying to get the camel's nose in the tent here. And I'm trying to get it out until we've actually done the process to have a middle school. And I strenuously object, and I would like it reflected in the minutes, please.
Steve?
I can't speak to any camel. We'll reference Shakespeare that deference is the better part of valor. And I think an interim step would just be to change the policy change document. And instead of saying for IE, we'll need to revisit, that this is contingent on the completion of the district agreement so that the language is consistent.
Okay.
And in that way, we've pressed pause. We have what we have, and the agreement is guides our policy.
Okay. That sounds reasonable. Yep. District agreement. Yep. It already has an asterisk, but maybe it needs two of them.
Double secret.
What else you got?
Okay. The next I document, IJNDBA, retention of documents, was taken out because it is purely procedural, and that should go in the employee handbook. For IK, we took out the word assistant because we have no assistant superintendent. We did at one time. IKE, it needs to be discussed and reviewed to make sure that this policy really reflects what we're doing. And the same for IL. Are we evaluating our instructional programs? As we should be. And there is one that was left off the list that you should add here, another I policy. IKF are graduation requirements. They were updated to reflect the PVRS 2022-23 Program of Studies description of graduation requirements. What was there was terribly out of date. For instance, it said you needed 90 credits to graduate. It's now 120. And many different requirements from what were there at the time. And yeah, I sent that, or Joanne, when I requested, sent the Program of Studies section dealing with graduation requirements to Tracy, and I think it was just cut and pasted here.
Sorry, Karen, the graduation requirements from the Program of Studies are cut and pasted from here? No, they're not.
Two here. Two here
Oh,
from
sorry,
our
okay.
Program of Studies.
And in conversation with Interim Principal Carter, I know that we do want to bring to the committee some important requests for changes, possibly, to graduation requirements. So that would not be something that is pro forma, that is important, should be discussed in the next month, because kids will be making their plans for the year.
But I think for now, we'll leave the policy the way it reads.
We'll give it an asterisk.
And then it could be, once those changes are approved and made, then we can go into the policy and change it in the policy.
That's right.
Would update the
And we'll have
policy
to
if
remember
there are
to
any
update
changes.
that any time
Right.
the graduation requirements change.
Okay.
Okay? So, yeah.
My thinking is get the initial policy manual approved and then change the policies as they come up. So
That makes total sense, and I would say come up for high school seniors, graduation requirements are up right now.
Yeah, I'm
So-
just
so-
thinking that there may be a transition period, like if you find that there's a substantial difference between what the expectation was this past year and what it's going to be for the upcoming seniors, then you may decide to have a transition period where, because seniors have to do their planning, where if that's going to be a lengthier process, you may say, this class is going to, these are the requirements which were previously, and with some doable ones that would be easily attainable for them. Just keep that door open. I like the way you are approaching
I
this.
guess I'm a little concerned about graduation requirements are different than what Karen just stated.
You mean what's there?
Yes.
What's here or what's in the program of studies? What is
Well-
here, what is current policy is very different from programs of studies, and I don't know how that happened because school committee votes the program of studies. So at some point, there was a vote that allowed a change to the program of studies and didn't require a change to the committee's policy. So, and that's what this cleanup process is about.
Right, right.
So, okay, I will work with Mr. Carter, and I will come back. And it may be that Mr. Carter and I are giving guidance that is, we intend to bring this to the committee, and we hope that the committee will say yes, but know that that's what we'll be doing, and we'll need your assistance when we bring it.
Thank you. All right, going on to the second page. IMD, School Ceremonies and Observations. Part of this, Tracy said we were waiting for guidance from DESE, or who would get it from the Massachusetts Supreme Court, because part of this has to do with religious observances, and it stemmed from a recent federal Supreme Court ruling about prayer on an athletic field. Okay, so that has an asterisk. Right now, it's proscribed in our policy. IMG, we added our recently voted therapy dog policy and labeled it IMGR, but I would like you to remember that we voted to revisit it again at the beginning of the year, and it is now the beginning of the year. So that should be put on a very soon agenda. JJD, this policy is not needed if it is in the secondary school handbook. And we did not inquire as to how or which courses students would be asked to pay for, but that should be clear in the student handbook and the program of studies. JIC and a couple of the A policies. MASC has contacted all of us. Maybe you got the email. I know that I did, and I think it was sent out to all members, that some of the discrimination, harassment, and potential policies that could be litigated by individuals, such as dress code, has been updated to address practices around hairstyles that are connected with culture and ethnic groups. JKAA and JKAA-R. A while ago, Christy Fontaine brought this to the policy subcommittee to ask that all references to CPI, which was a specific vendor for training for physical restraint, be removed from our policies, which would give them more latitude as far as choosing a vendor if needed in the future. And so we did that. JQ, we changed the word indigent students to students of limited means when it came to paying certain fees. KCD is currently in draft update form by MASC. So we'll keep the current policy until we get a newer version from them. And then we added to policy LB, which was working with other agencies. We added specifically the Collaborative for Educational Services as a group that we regularly do collaborate with. And those are the changes since we last took our first look at the manual. So I also have my notes.
Those are for the archives.
No, these are my notes for policies for which we need to contact other stakeholders within the school community and alert them that we have passed on the procedures to them that were not policy, and from whom we also need them to shoulder some of the responsibilities that we're passing on. Yes, Melissa.
I have a couple. So the student dress code policy is JICA.
I believe so.
Okay. In the notes that we all have, it's JIC. So if anyone refers back to your notes that were printed,
okay.
it's JICA.
Thank you very much.
And then one of the policies that we need to collaborate with is that in section K, school building use.
Yes.
Because that is one of the things.
Yes, I have that in my notes of.
I wrote to you about?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. Thank you. Yes, all right. Yep. K's goes to the building committee, and yeah. Also, another one that needs to go to the building and grounds is about security cameras. If we have them in use, we have to have signs up saying that we do.
Yep.
Okay.
Could you share some of your notes? Not right now, but since I'm the chair of building and grounds.
Absolutely.
So I know what
As
I
soon
can
as I have
put an
list.
agenda.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the intention.
Thank you.
Karen, do you have in your notes, like, where they would be residing in regulations? For example, these would be in the administration manual, these would be in a student handbook, these would be in a health.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, that would be helpful.
As much as I was able to. I'm not saying that I didn't miss things. That's why it's always good to have a committee to have your eyes on things.
Yeah, well, my concern is that it doesn't get in
Get
any
there.
bucket because,
Yep.
we didn't have a place to put it. So
Right,
just to
right.
know.
That was my concern too.
Yeah.
And Tracy actually said, well, you don't need to do that. I mean, that's going beyond, but we do. We really do. And I think everybody in this situation should.
Ellen, I will say there were times we thought of the circular file. That's a place to put it.
Yeah, I had those same thoughts.
Yeah, and it's too bad you guys missed the meeting Monday.
Yeah.
Because you got to meet my new puppy.
I got to show off mine.
That's right. That was
Are we
fun.
good to tell Tracy to have a safe trip? She was headed out to Portland, Oregon.
Oh, nice.
But
Business manager conference, yep.
Yep.
So, please don't hesitate to contact one of us if you have a question about any policy before you make a decision on whether to vote yes to adopt this revision. I will let you know I will be at my daughter's wedding in the interim, so I may be unavailable for a few days. Yeah.
Karen, can I ask,
more than a
Yep.
what is your expectation for the next meeting in terms of, obviously, you're looking for a vote, that would be the
Yes,
second reading,
yes.
but how do you see that process? It's up to the committee to, do their due diligence,
Yes,
do their
yes,
homework.
yes.
People come to the table
Yes,
and they're
yes.
pretty much are satisfied with
Right.
what they've seen.
Right.
You might be able to move to a vote, or
Yeah.
are you intending to repeat this process?
No,
Okay.
No repetition. You contact one of us if you have a serious doubt about something, or we have missed something. All of us have missed something, okay?
That's what I was going to say. If somebody has a question about something specific, to contact the committee so that we can do research on it prior to our next meeting for the second reading.
Right.
The subcommittee?
Contact
Yeah,
someone on the,
policy subcommittee.
yes, yeah. Okay?
And I just want to thank the subcommittee for, it's been a tremendous amount of work to compile an entirely new manual.
And
I can vouch for the amount of time that I've
Yeah,
that I've
oh,
spent.
yes. And Raina was a
I've
really
taken a step back since becoming-
valuable member. Her minutes from our
Great
meetings
scribe.
were, super.
And I also want to say, in some ways, it feels like the work is, it's a huge accomplishment, and it feels like that work is done, but we're also just shifting into a different phase of work.
Right.
And the next phase is to prioritize which policies need to be revised and refined, so that work will continue. It's, it will definitely be a continuation, so. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So under other business, if we're there, and it's not other business to happen tonight, but I would like to put back in the forefront that it would be really helpful for this committee to get on agenda to establish some 2 or 3 goals or whatever that we are going to focus on in the coming year. And we have the conversation. There'll be other things that we'll be accomplishing, but if we can target some specific things that hasn't been done I don't know when it was done last, but we need to have some focus on what we feel are the priorities that require our attention. That's all. Thank you.
And I think in preparation for that, one important thing to do would be to look at the district improvement plan. I think it's still in force for another year. And certainly we voted on that in the past, so we should be willing to look at those items.
Good point.
Okay. All right. So subcommittee reports.
Are we on to other
Other business.
item 6? I have 2 items,
Yes.
if I may.
Okay.
First is we should fix our reference here about this meeting is held in accordance with the governor of Massachusetts order. That was superseded. We're now operating under the 7/18/22 Act relative to extending. It's some question whether he actually had the authority, but this was legislation that followed. Secondly, Mark Abrams, Better Government, the consultant to one of the consultants to the Hart Committee, and a consultant working with the Sixth Town, sent out a blast that I caught the probably last of. He's holding a seminar having to do with net school spending and Chapter 78. It's 3 hours. It's a week from today, from 9 till noon. It's $300. Some people from Warwick are going, and I'd like to urge the Pioneer School Committee to send some folks. It's quite valuable to understand how the local aid works and such, and I personally have never really aspired to, but $300, it's 3 to the seminar. So I forwarded that to the members. I guessed on your email, Stephen. I forwarded that to the budget committee members.
Good.
I've got a full 4 from Warwick going to it, and it is strictly in person. It's complicated stuff. At the Sixth Town committee, a member, Mike Naughton, who's a Montague Finance Committee member and somebody I've known for years, seems to have his arms around it. So I tend to him on this stuff, but I think we'd all learn something.
David, when did you say this is happening?
A week from today, which is the
22nd.
22nd, 9 until noon.
Where?
This- It is via Zoom or Google Meets.
Do you want me to send this to the whole committee? David, I'm
No, I
looking
just
at-
sent it to the Budget Committee. I haven't talked to Mark about what happens if we stuff more than 4 people in a room. I did indicate that if that happened, that Warwick would settle with him.
Oh, this is virtual?
Yes.
Yeah, you did say in-person meeting, so you made me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
No, it-
remote meeting.
Is that for?
Yeah, it's remote. I'm going to have some people gathered around the library table in Warwick on one feed. I guess that's where my head was.
And there's, just as a follow-up, if you go on the website and look at that, there's specific information that he'll be asking for in terms of your assessment, your net school spending, your foundation, because it's usually a working session, so you're looking at your information and applying it. And so he explains that in the context of everybody using their own budget. Is how he usually does that.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of homework, but you'll be able to do your lab with your own school districts.
Certainly sounds like something Jordan needs to go to.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um,
don't
I
know
will
how
talk
I
about it
forgot that.
again with Jordan. I met with Cami Lamica today, and I thought that was a day he was scheduled to work with Cami. I'll bring it up with him again. Are there other school committee members who would like to attend?
I think it should be people that will be here after the election in November.
Michelle, are you hearing all this?
Well, she had her hand
She's
up.
got a lot of time on her hands.
Yeah, go ahead, Michelle.
Yeah.
No, I did raise my hand. I'm interested.
Okay.
I'd like to remind people that after the election and you have new members, you will be reconstituting your subcommittees. So if it is people on budget subcommittee now, you would want to make sure at least one of those people is on it again.
Patricia, you can put my name down if
Okay.
you're taking notes.
David, you said there were 2 things. Were there 2?
Oh, the other thing was just correcting the reference for
Oh,
why
got
we're
it.
allowed
Thank you.
to
Yeah,
meet remotely.
yeah.
Thank you for that.
17, 18, 22.
I also sent out an email asking, I couldn't remember in the last, when Raina presented about the MASC-MASS Joint School Committee conference that's happening November 2nd through the 5th. And that is right before the election, so I would anticipate anyone who is planning on staying may be interested. I will be applying or interested in going, so I would be registering for that.
Are you
event.
presenting?
Am I?
No.
No.
No?
I don't think so. No. I wasn't sure where we ended. Raina kind of presented it and we had a discussion, but I don't know if anyone was registered. So my question in the
Yeah.
email was, is anyone registered? Are we having a presence? So I'm going to be registering.
Well, let me think about it. I might do a presence.
Presence. I would like to have gone. COVID was an issue my whole time on this committee.
My recollection is they have some vendors in the hallways on the escalators. That's why I asked.
Oh, if I was
presenting.
working.
Right.
If I'm working, I am not. No, I would be attending as a school committee member. I will not be working that. Okay, got it.
Be there as a vendor.
I saw the glaze and I went, okay, I don't think I was clear.
No, I didn't know what you were. No,
You're doing a workshop, hosting a workshop.
not at this one. MASS, we do. Yes.
I'm debating on whether I'm going to be presenting or not, or just attending. So we'll see.
And what would you be presenting?
The initiative of, not specifically to here, but the 6-town regional and the process of regionalization and all of the steps that are involved in that, and how you form a planning board, and it's, you really need to have the contiguous towns in order to be able to make that something that can work. Otherwise, the transportation can get out of hand. I've had several conversations with the Berkshire group with Greg, and they might actually be presenting as well. So there's just so much that we've learned over the last 3 years. We might share that with others.
If you are a presenter, do a PowerPoint and have the slides available for people. It's two very important things.
Thank you.
Nathan? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be interested in going to that as well.
Okay. Great. So we can definitely, should they reach out to your office?
Yeah,
or-
reach out to my office, and this is a joint conference, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might ask my senior admin folks if they're interested.
Great.
It'd be great to have a joint admin school committee presence.
Yeah, I don't think it's limited either. I think
No.
being a member, all your school committee members can go.
Great. We did subcommittee reports last week. I
Yeah,
don't think
we
there are
did.
anything new
My-
from the yes.
My other business, which would also go into this, is just a suggestion that I think when planning meetings, that I don't think we need to have the same agenda the first and second meeting of the month,
Right.
right? So subcommittee, I mean, I guess we can keep it there standing,
I think
but
in
I'm also,
past-
yeah.
Past agendas for the second meeting, I've seen that deleted. I don't recall seeing that
You can certainly
before.
skip over it if there's
Yeah.
nothing to be said.
We had guidance from Russell that these are separate meetings. One meeting does not relate, just reminding
Yes.
folks, one meeting does not relate to
Right.
the other. It's not a continuation.
Correct.
So wouldn't
But
that
we-
suggest deleting the things we covered in the previous meeting? I would think so.
So we can have different agendas, even though they're posted and they're not a continuation. My other suggestion would be, and I don't know if the committee or the chairs, this could also be a after November discussion, that since I'm the chair of Buildings and Grounds, that I would report or tell the chair, I would like time to share out. And if I don't, then it doesn't need to be on the agenda. And I think in planning that would be helpful. Because I could have showed up today easily enough to present the BES mold in my report and Cooper Bullocks, which I did. So I had multiple notes ready to go for that. But because they ended up being on the agenda, that was wasted time.
Jeannie?
I think it's important to have the subcommittees listed for the second meeting of the month, because the possibility that there could have been a meeting in the previous 7 days, and topics that need to be addressed. Because it's very easy to say nothing new than to say, oh, wait a minute, I need to make a presentation.
I'm intrigued by the legal opinion. If you adjourn the meeting, then you have a whole new agenda, even though you're flagging that you'll have some items that you didn't complete at the previous one on that agenda, as opposed to you recess the meeting. And so you're just going to pick up that same agenda and you're going to finish the business of that, and you're not adding anything to it. You're just continuing to complete the work. So I think we always adjourn.
Well, we do, and I think that whether we recess or adjourn, and with our town meetings, we dissolve them because we don't want to adjourn. Adjourn applies, you're going to reconvene in the future. But I think the underlying open meeting requirement is that whether it's a recess or not has to be posted and noticed.
Absolutely.
Has to be noticed either way, whether,
Right.
so I don't think it matters. But if we're not intending to replow last week's agenda, I'd say delete it. Plus, it looks less daunting that way.
You feel like you accomplished something. You don't see him again.
More things to check off. All right. Okay, we don't have an executive session. Any personnel updates for personnel?
No.
And any other miscellaneous updates?
Could I,
Yes.
it would be really something to think about, coming from the committee to, because this was quite a presentation that Cooper did and all the work that he put into that, to have some kind of recognition, thank you or something from the school committee to him, so he can, one, have it in his file as he's building his resume, and it documents that must have been a really nice presentation if we took the time to highlight it and recognize him for that.
Yeah, I can put something together for that. Mm-hmm.
I think that's also we've talked as a committee what other ways we can be involved in the community. And so those of us that are able, I think, should attend, especially, you know, if you're not there for the working bee session, but the lantern walk. I mean, these are amazing opportunities that as school committee members, we need to be in the community speaking and listening and doing so much listening. That Cooper is handing it to us on a silver platter. So
I'm assuming his presentation will be on the district website?
Put it up.
Thank you. Because I didn't write down the date of the, I like the trunk or treat. That was great.
BES I know does it. I don't know if NES does
never
it
heard that.
also. Oh, it's amazing.
But what was the date?
Speaking of getting Cooper's
PPD.
Presentation up online, my office would like to help ensure that any documents presented, including all slideshows at school committee, should be up online. So there's an awfully long task list, but I know that is one that we need to get done. So anything shared here should be part of the publicly available information packet. We're working towards it.
Okay. Yep. All right.
I make
other
a motion to adjourn.
Oh, well, our next meeting is Thursday, October 13th at
Second.
7 p.m. Here. Be there or be square. All right. And now I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I was working so hard on these.
We have,
Second.
we already did that.
Aye, David Young, aye, sorry. I think I already
See, he
left.
hasn't been here.
Melissa
I
Gary.
think I left already, I'm not sure.
We're voting. It's your turn.
Jeannie Milton, yes.
Karen O'Neill, yes.
Alan Genovese, aye.
Stephen Martin, yes.
And Michelle?
Russo, yes.
Stephanie?
Stephanie Winslow, yes.
And Raina Dastu, yes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. Good seeing
Yeah, you want mine?